Hello, my hojos, and welcome to 2023. I am so excited for this year in terms of manga. I feel like the shoujo and josei that came out last year was kind of hit or miss. There were like some good releases and some that I just did not care for. But this year, 2023, it's the year of shoujo and josei. Let's get it. I am so excited for this year of manga releases, especially when it comes to shoujo and josei, because there are some great series coming out this year that I have been wanting to read for so long, and I'm just so ecstatic for. So yeah, that's what we are going to be talking about today. Just series that I'm excited for that are gonna come out this year, and also series that I hope will get announced this year. And like, fingers crossed on some of these. Some of them are very out there, but I'm hopeful for a couple of them. Can I be honest with you guys though? I'm so tired. It's for a good reason though. We'll get into it more at the end of the video. I got a little announcement, there's a teaser, but this video is just gonna be entirely unscripted. I did feel like writing a full script with like a lot of detailed things. I just wanted to talk about series. Anyway, so stay tuned to the end of the video if you want to hear about my exciting stuff that I have coming out next month. Otherwise, let's just jump right into it. Philip DeFranco would be so proud. For the first series we're going to talk about, it is called My Girlfriend's Child by Mamoru Aoi. This was a series that was licensed by 7 Seas. I believe it was back in the summer of 2022. And it surprised me when I saw it got announced. I hadn't really heard anyone other than me like really wanting this series in English. So I was so surprised to see that it got picked up, but also very ecstatic because this series, first of all, it just sounds really good. Second of all, I like Mamoru Aoi's work. I read Koi no Hajimari last year. It was on my favorite reads of the year list, so I am very excited to read more of this author's work. My Girlfriend's Child is currently ongoing in Japan. I believe volume 4 just came out. It also is like getting a ton of reprints there, so it is a pretty popular series over in Japan. It's running in the manga magazine Betsu Frey, and Betsu Frey is owned by Kodansha. Other manga that are running in it currently are like Tonari no Stella, which is by the Takane no Ransan author. And then you also have the My Sweet Girl mangaka. She is currently running another series right now, which the name escapes me. It's like looking at your profile, I believe is the English name, but I can't think of the Japanese name. People would probably make fun of me for how I say it anyway. So My Girlfriend's Child is a drama romance shoujo series that follows a high school couple named Sachi and Takara, who have been a couple for a while, and one day they get intimate without protection. This results in Sachi finding out that she has become pregnant, and she's unsure how to move forward with this information. This series seems to follow the ins and outs of teen pregnancy, as well as the stigmas that come along with it, and exploring this with her boyfriend Takara. Like I said, I really love Koi no Hajimari. It was such a very sweet series, and every single time I talk about it, I always say it gives me teen indie romance vibes, which isn't like necessarily a good description, but that's just the feeling I get, you know? There's just a very nice, calming vibe to Mamoru Aoi's series, and I have a feeling this one is going to have that same calming vibe while also being, you know, pretty heavy in the subject matter. I've seen a lot of people be concerned over the subject matter of the series and how it's going to be handled and if it'll be handled properly. And from what I can tell, it was handled very well. It really does seem like Mamoru Aoi put a lot of time and research into this series. There's been interviews where she's talked to gynecologists, midwives, nurses, counselors, etc. I'll leave a link to an interview that I saw her do about this series. It seems to get into how she doesn't like how sex ed is taught in schools and stuff. So it is going to be Google translated into English, but it's still worth a read because you'll get the general idea of how this seems to be a really like passionate topic for her. My Girlfriend's Child is set to release on April 25th. And like I said, I've been wanting to read this one for so long. So I really hope you guys check this one out as well. Show support, because I want Koi no Hajimari as well. All right, so the second release is another one that I have been looking forward to for so long. we have Do Not Say Mystery by Yumi Tamura. We all know I'm a Yumi Tamura stan and that she's the GOAT. This is another amazing licensing pickup from 7 Seas. I remember when they announced this, I think it was at Anime NYC, and the shoujo and josei community was going absolutely wild on Twitter. It was, I'm gonna have to find one of the memes that a friend of mine made because it was just a compilation of all of the tweets that everyone was saying about Do Not Say Mystery. We were going insane. This is currently ongoing still in Japan and is publishing in the josei magazine Flowers. The series got a live action drama adaptation last year, and because it was so well received, the already well selling series got a huge bump, and volume 12 just came out in Japan and literally it is #1 best-selling series. The series is doing so well for itself. Am I to be surprised though? No. It's Yumi Tamura. Anyway, Do Not Say Mystery. Would it surprise you if I said it was a mystery series that is going to be releasing in a 2-in-1 omnibus format? It's an episodic story that is centered on a college boy named Totono who is a little bit eccentric. He only wants to mind his own business and make curry at home, but he keeps getting wrapped up in criminal affairs. Although his keen observational skills and ability to talk people's ear off often gets him out of these sticky situations and solves crimes in the meantime. I've already read the first volume of this series and it is truly so good. I cannot overstate how good the writing is in this series, the mystery as well. Every single crime that happens, I'm like, I could kind of guess who the culprit is, but the way we get to it and the way we find out is just so engaging. For the most part, the chapters are pretty episodic and self-contained, but every now and then you'll get 2-chapter mystery arcs or 3-chapter mystery arcs, and every single chapter is really lengthy, so it's a sit down and read, you know? It's not like you're just kind of browsing, you're reading this. I also really like how Yumi Tamura mixes her own opinions and critiques on society into the dialogue of this series. It's just done so naturally, it doesn't feel shoehorned, and it doesn't feel like all the other characters are trying to force you to agree with what one character says. Oba. You also just can't help but fall in love with Totono as a character. He is just so endearing and lovable. The poor guy just wants to make curry at home and maybe go to an art exhibit, but no, he keeps finding murders. The true tragedy of this series is that Totono hasn't been able to make his curry yet. The manga is set to release on May 30th, and once again, just so hyped for this series. Also, I'm just kind of hoping that if Do Not Say Mystery does well, we can get 7 Seeds eventually. I'm so greedy. I'm like, okay, well, if this one does well that I really wanted, maybe we'll get this one that I really wanted to. Third on my list, we have The Summer Hikaru Died by Moku Moku Ren. This was a series licensed by Yen Press and has been getting a ton of hype in Japan. It's a pretty fresh release series. There's only 2 volumes out, it's still ongoing, and it is serializing in Young Ace Up, which I think is a digital publisher. I couldn't find much about that publishing magazine. It's a horror psychological seinen series that follows the story of 2 boys named Yoshiki and Hikaru who live in a small rural town in Japan. The 2 are complete opposites of each other, but despite this, they have been really close friends since childhood. However, one day Hikaru has gone missing, and once he returns, something seems off about him. Yoshiki can also tell that something is different about him, but his feelings towards Hikaru still linger. So I don't know much about this series, almost at all. I did watch a video where a friend of mine, Seji, talked about this series and they got into it a lot more. I didn't watch too much because I didn't want to get spoiled on the first volume. However, if you're wanting to know more, go watch that video. I've just been seeing it praised so highly, and to some of the people who have read it online, they've been saying such good things about it, and I love me a horror psychological romance type series, which is so funny. I really don't like horror, but for some reason those horror romances, they always get get me. A lot of people who have talked about this series also say it's pretty similar to I Want to Hold Auno, and we all know how much I love that series. So this one seems to be like it's going to be right up my alley. I'm very excited to read this one. Yen Press hasn't given any sort of like exact date yet that I could find, but July seems to be the consensus of like the time that it will be releasing. So excited to pick this one up when it comes out. Next up in series we have coming out this year is Cinderella Closet by Wakana Yanai. This is another surprising license from 7 Seas. They were killing it this year. This is the first series that has actually been completed already in Japan, so we do have a definitive answer for how many volumes there will be, which is 8 volumes in total. This series ran in Betsuma magazine. Betsuma is the publisher of like My Love Mix-Up, E-McCoy. So I was very surprised that this one was picked up by 7 Seas and not Viz, because they like seem to love Betsuma lately. As per usual with Betsuma, this is a slice of life romance shoujo series. We follow the story of a college girl named Haruka who just moved to Tokyo after having lived in the countryside for her whole life. Haruka is a bit plain and she doesn't have the confidence to confess her feelings to her coworker. That is until she meets a person named Hikaru who decides that they will play as her fairy godmother. I've read a little bit of this series online and it is just a very endearing and charming little series. First of all, this is like the staple cross-dressing gender bender type of shoujo series that we have been missing lately. From what I've personally read, and because I haven't read a ton of this series, it does seem like Hikaru identifies as a boy but enjoys dressing feminine and feels more confident dressing feminine. Think along the lines of Princess Jellyfish, which I also believe the main character identified as a guy but just enjoyed dressing feminine. Correct me if I'm wrong. While this series has that trope of like making the girl beautiful with makeup, I think it works well in this one because it's not trying to say that makeup like makes you a whole different person and oh, you look so much prettier and blah, 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 blah. This one, it just feels more like, oh, makeup can like make you feel a little more confident, but you're still yourself and you don't have to wear makeup all the time because you're still you. And I feel like those messages are a lot better than like, we're gonna make you over and you're gonna get so many boys. Hikaru and Haruka have a really great chemistry from the start as well. Starting with their friendship, it's just really fun, like back and forth banter. And then in the budding romance as well, which Hikaru falls for Haruka first. I love how sweet and accepting Haruka is of Hikaru. And I like that she's like not a pushover to the point where she'll just go along with anything. Like she has her own thoughts, she has her own feelings, and she'll like put her foot down when she needs to. She's just a very lovely, sweet character. I love her. I love both of them. And I'm really excited to actually get to finish reading this one because it was so interesting when I first started reading it and I saw that they licensed it. So I was like, hell yeah, I can read this all in physicals now. Cinderella Closet is set to release on April 4th, so we have a big April of some great shoujo series. I tried to have like a nice little outfit going on, but I get so hot that I could not leave that cardigan on, so we're just going guns out, man. All right, so the last series of licenses that I'm like really excited for is called King in Limbo by Ai Tanaka. This one is licensed by Kodansha. I believe it's coming out in physicals. I always have to double check on that with Kodansha series, but I'm like pretty sure this is going to be a physical series. This is another completed manga, so we know definitively that this one is going to have 6 volumes in total. It was serialized in the magazine Itan, but Itan folded and it moved over to Comic Days. However, it is a josei series. The series is a drama sci-fi that's set in a world where 8 years prior, a sleeping sickness took millions of lives. A man named Adam Garfield had to retire from the US Navy when he had a serious injury that took his leg, but he had just received word that the sleeping sickness is coming back. Adam must now find the man who helped cure the disease 8 years prior by going into people's memories. So I legitimately don't know anything about this series except for the description. The reason why I am excited for this one is mostly because when I saw it got licensed, I saw some of my friends being really excited for it, so I was like, oh, okay, cool. But I I saw that it was by Ai Tanaka, who is the mangaka of another series Kodansha had already licensed previously called Apple Children of Aeon. So when I saw that one got licensed, I was like, okay, let's go check out Apple Children of Aeon. Ion. I don't know how you say it. So I read that one. And I binged it within 2 days. It was so good. It's a really quick 3-volume read, but it was so engaging, and the story was great, and the art was very simplistic, but like it really helped give focus to the story of the series. After reading that one and being obsessed with it, I am very much looking forward to King and Limbo as well. It seems like it's going to be like a sci-fi human drama, and I love me some human drama, especially when it's in the sci-fi setting, you know, like Seven Seeds is a human drama in a sci-fi setting, and Himitsu Top Secret is a human drama in a sci-fi setting, so I'm very much looking forward to reading King and Limbo as well. This one doesn't have any official release date. Kodansha has only said fall. This is like one of their most recent licenses, so I'm not expecting to get a release announcement until maybe like 3 more months from now. But this one is set to release fall of this year. Very excited for this one. Yeah. By the way, I don't think I've shown you guys my Totoro mug. I got this in Chinatown like 5 years ago, but I love this mug. It's so cute. So that is all for the series that I am excited for coming out this year. Obviously, that's not all of the series I'm excited for that are coming out this year, but some of the big ones, some of the ones I want to give some attention to so we can get more shoujo and josei. Oh my god, it's like I say this all the time. However, now I want to talk about some series that I hope that we get licensed this year. Some ones that like I feel like should get licensed this year, especially the first one that we're going to talk about, which is Jean Bride by Hitomi Takano. This is a currently ongoing josei series that is releasing in Feel Young magazine. We don't have like much, if any, series from Feel Young magazine, which is a real shame because I've looked into this one a couple times and they have some really interesting looking series in this magazine. Just a little taste of like some of the other ones we do actually have licensed. The only 2 that I can find that are coming out currently is the physical release for My Androgynous Boyfriend, and then you have the digital release for, the Japanese name is Yowao to Katako, and the English name is something like something and an old maid. I'll put it on the screen here. Anyway, back to Jean Bride. This series just ranked 2nd on the This Manga is Amazing awards. The ranking is basically they just send a survey out, I believe, to like booksellers and manga readers, and they get a feel for like what everyone's loving. And this ranked number 2 in the female category. This is a series I don't know too much about. I've read a little bit of the first chapter, so I like kind of have a feel for like the tone of the series. But from what I've heard, once again, my friend Seji, who talked about the series, it gets wild. There's like a wild something that happens. And from what I've like gathered from the first chapter, I could kind of tell something's gonna happen. Anyway, here's the description. The story follows a woman named Ichi who is put down in work and in life. She's constantly being harassed by men and looked down on for being a woman, and starting to feel burnt out by life because of this. One day, a former classmate named Makito shows up and tells her that she is his destiny. Or at least that was the tagline of the school event they were both paired up in called Jean Bride. A school event that matched up students for a day based on their genetic information. Because both Makito and Ichi didn't follow the standard protocol of not eating before, they ended up getting paired with each other. Now, despite knowing nothing about this, I can feel in my bones that this is going to be like a juicy little sci-fi. Look me in the eyes and tell me that a genetic informational event run by a school doesn't sound like they had some bad motivations in mind. They're doing something with those kids' DNA. Whether it be clones, could be clones, or like Gattaca. Either way, I need to read this one so badly. I want to know what happens. I want to be in on this hype. The art is stunning. So hopefully we get Jean Bride this year It won an award. Come on, give it to us. Next up, I do kind of feel like we have a chance to get this one, but that is dependent on one factor. The series is called Kin no Kuni Mizu no Kuni by Nao Iwamoto. So this series is completed and it only had one volume in total. It came from the magazine Flowers, which is where Do Not Say Mystery comes from. And it is just a lovely little fantasy political series. Now, the reason why I kind of feel like we could get this one is because an anime movie is coming out for it on January 27th, which either it just came out in Japan or is about to come out by the time I get this video out. So two things here. I hope we get the anime movie in America, and then I hope the anime movie does well enough that we can get the manga after that. It's just a 1-volume series, so I would kind of have hope if people liked the anime movie enough, and it's done by Madhouse, so I feel like it's gonna be a very lovely movie. That's what I feel like. The story follows two countries that haven't been able to get along for centuries. After an incident involving dog poop brings the two countries to war, God ends up intervening. They force the two countries to send their most beautiful woman and their wisest man to marry for political peace. However, when Sarah is sent a dog from the other country and Naran Bayar is sent a cat from the other country, the two have to work together to make sure that the countries maintain peace. I've actually read this series and it was so lovely. It was just a very lovely, nice read. The politics of it wasn't super intricate or anything, but just the story itself was just very nice. While it is a fantasy series, it was clearly inspired by Middle Eastern architecture and clothing. The background details and the landscape shots in this manga are just so stunning. I was actually very surprised because when you look at the artwork on the cover, it seems like it's going to be a very simple art series, but no, I was actually floored by how detailed this artwork was. It was gorgeous. I don't know why, but the first series that pops up to mind when I think of contrasted artwork series, I think of Blue Flag, where it kind of goes back and forth between really detailed characters and then kind of very stylized characters. And I feel like that is kind of a good comparison for what I mean by the characters are pretty stylized, but the artwork is very intricate and detailed. It's just a very lovely and beautiful story, and I first of all hope that the movie does the manga justice. I feel like it will be. Like I said, it's Madhouse and they love their shoujo and josei series. But if we do get the anime movie in America at some point, I'm really hoping that it gives us the manga as well. I would love to own this one. It was a great series. Next up, we have Furare Girl by Kakeru Susumi. I've talked about this one before. I talked about it in my Are All Shoujo Annie Manga the Same video because I love this series. I love it so much. I want it in English. I need it in English. The series actually just recently completed in Japan. It was running in Hanato Yume, which is the magazine that Yona of the Dawn comes from and Skip Beat comes from. This series has 14 volumes in total. It's a fantastic comedy romance series. One of the best comedy romances I have ever read. Clears. Oh, I'm not gonna say that actually. Use your imaginations. I'm pretty sure I've put this series into 7C's licensing survey every single time. This one and Colette Decides to Die, they go in there all the time. But yeah, I want it. I want it so bad. The story follows a very gorgeous girl named Akasaka who has been dubbed at her school Mistress. She was recently dumped by her boyfriend, and upon this news, the very shy and awkward boy from the class over, Aoyama, ends up confessing to her. However, instead of a regular confession, he accidentally asks her to be his mistress in a fit of nerves. Akasaka rejects him because obviously, but Aoyama is not ready to give up just yet and wants Akasaka to get to know him better. So what he does is he proposes that the two try a trial period of dating for just a couple of weeks together. This is one of the most high concept, I think that's the word, a high concept romance comedy series. There's so much like crazy, unexpected slapstick comedy, like being so turned on that you explode and you turn into a puddle and you stay that way for several chapters, or like ghosts being canonical in this series. Like you literally do not know what the next chapter is going to be because it is always just so off the walls and random, I guess, but like it almost always works in the story. Despite how funny the series is, it's still very heartfelt and sweet at the same time. I've said this before, but the romance in Furare Girl doesn't feel like it's the joke itself. The joke is just the series. The series is the joke and the romance is like the serious part. Akasaka and Aoyama are just very sweet, shy, awkward teenagers, and their romance together is just so sweet, shy, and awkward, and it's so lovely to read. And it's also just like a nice breath of fresh air sometimes when you're reading some of the most slapstick comedy and then you just get really sweet moments between them. Also, one of my favorite things about the series is that what I love to do is if I ever talk about Furare Girl, I love to post the chapter art because the chapter art is always like this completely different genre of a series, and like you could never tell what Furare Girl is actually about if you just showed someone the chapter art. Now, unfortunately, the series is owned by Hakusensha, which is the publishing company for Hanato Yume, and Hakusensha apparently is like pretty hard to get licenses from, so I kind of doubt we will ever get this one, or Colette Decides to Die for that matter, because that one also comes from Hanato Yume, which is a real bummer because I love Hanato Yume and I love Lala magazine. So I hope someone is able to get that series at some point because it's so good. It's so good and I want more people to read it. Next up is a just regular old high school slice of life romance comedy series called Pink to Habanero by Mika Satonaka. This is a series I just started reading recently. It's currently ongoing. I believe there's 4 volumes out in total and it's running in Margaret magazine. Now, quick side tangent real quick. I love Margaret magazine so much. Margaret has literally some of my favorite high school romance series that I've ever read. A series could be like a mid 5, and then it starts running in Margaret and it would be like a 10. That's how I feel about Margaret. It's just, there's something magical about the high school romances in Margaret. It's really a crime that we've only been getting Betsuma series, which is the sister magazine to Margaret, and not the actual Margaret magazine series, because Margaret is the one that has the better series. So that was my quick little tangent. Let's talk about Pink to Habanero and why I love it. The story follows a first-year high schooler named Mugi who has been best friends with one of the prettiest girls she knows since childhood. Due to this, she lacks confidence in herself, but because she is going to a different school than her best friend, she wants to reinvent herself and find her own boyfriend. 2 weeks into school though, she's yet to talk to anyone except for accidentally fighting with the cool and aloof boy in her class, Kurose. To mend her spirits after hard days at school, she likes to go to cafes, and one day she decides to visit a night cafe that is out of her way. To her surprise though, it happens that Kurose is working at this night cafe and she finds out his secret. Now, I feel like this series doesn't capitalize on the night cafe aspect a lot. A lot of people like to compare this one to Maid-sama because obviously maid cafe, night cafe, but they really don't focus on the night cafe aspect. So I wouldn't really consider it to be that close. However, the thing that makes the series stand out to me is just how charming the characters are. Mugi seems like she would be just your typical shy girl, but she's just so funny. She's one of the funniest main characters I've read in a while. She's so goofy and overly excited about everything, and she just wants to be included with people. She tries very hard, and she gives me a lot of secondhand embarrassment. I think it's funny that they do acknowledge that in the series as well, that Mugi is just so frantic and like wanting to be included that it comes off as cringe, they say. Which, yeah, Mugi's kind of cringe, but I love her for it. I will say I wasn't sold on Kurose like right off the bat like I was with Mugi, but he grew on me quite a bit as well. I feel like he's a very charming person too. I feel like Mugi really brings the charm out of him. On his own, he's just kind of boring, but when he's with Mugi, they have really great banter together and the dialogue is also just very funny. They start out as like really good friends, and I also like that part, that aspect of romance series as well. I like when the characters get to know each other more as like friends first and then they fall in love. There's not really any drama in this series either. It's a pretty calming series for the most part, and mostly the drama just comes from whether or not Kurose has feelings for Mugi. Currently, we're trying to figure out if he just thinks of her as a friend or if he actually thinks of her as something more and just doesn't know it yet. But I really like their dynamic, whether it's friendship or not. It's not like this is a reinventing the wheel for the high school romance. I love high school romances that are charming and has good dialogue and good banter between characters. A common Margaret W, if you will. All right, everyone. This is the year. I can feel it. I'm putting it into motion. I'm putting it out there. This is the year that we are going to get Chihaya Furu in physical copies. It will happen, and I'm gonna make it happen. How will it happen, you might ask? Well, here's the plan. Next month is no longer February. Next month, February is gone. It is now officially Chihaya Furuary. Next month, God willing, is all about Chihaya Furu on this channel. That's right, I am putting out 2 Chihaya Furu videos focused on the manga and the anime. First up will be my magnum opus 1-hour-long Chihaya Furu analysis video, baby! And then after that, we have a little surprise too that I haven't talked about at all. Now, what I am hoping is that Chihaya Furuary will harness all of the power of the Hojos and release it upon the world, and everyone will know that we want Chihaya Furu, and everyone will be buying digital copies from Kodansha, and everyone will be watching the anime, and then they'll go buy digital copies. Harnessing that power of the Hojos and summoning Chihaya Furu physical releases. Okay, obviously, I know that's probably not gonna happen. However, I do want Chihaya Furu physicals, and next month is Chihaya Furuary, and I wanted to announce it in a fun way, okay? I've been working on this Chihaya Furu video for so long. It was a 26-page script. I worked on it for 2 days, like filming, and for the past 2 weeks I've been editing this nonstop, and it's an hour-long video, and oh my gosh, I am so tired, guys. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you guys are excited for Chihaya Furuary as well as all of these manga that I talked about. If you are also wanting to get something licensed in English, leave those down below in the comments, baby. I can never take myself seriously when I say to leave comments below, even though I do enjoy reading the comments. Yeah, so tell me what you guys are excited for coming out this year, as well as your own licensing wishes. I hope you guys are having a great start to the new year, and I will see you guys next month for Chihaya Furuary. Read Chihaya Furu so you can catch up and you can join in on the Chihaya Furuary fun. Thank you for watching, Hojos, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!